Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. This is a bit of a different video format than I usually do, but today I'm going to take you on a tour of the native garden as well as my vegetable and fruit garden, and I'm going to talk to you about all the plants that I have planted and also the process of which I went through last year to turn my suburban lawn, so we just have a suburban lawn here, into a food forest and native garden. So I'm really excited to take you all along the journey with me. Couple points of note: if you haven't subscribed, I've been posting videos pretty consistently for about 2 years now. So if you're interested in my journey, seeing what I harvest, seeing what I plant, hearing from me a little bit, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I also created on Facebook a garden club. So if you search Dixon Claim Garden Club, it is going to be a community, or it is a community of gardeners to share what they're doing, share what they're growing, they're harvesting, ask questions, that sort of thing. And I also post other content, photos, videos of what I'm doing that I don't post on YouTube. So if that interests you, go to Facebook and search Dixon Claim Garden Club, or I have the link in the description. You can click that and you can request to join the club. But we're just gonna get going here. The first and really my favorite part of the garden is these trellises. So actually, let me back up. So we're gonna walk this way. You can walk with me here. And I did some yard work today, but I did not get a chance to make it look perfect. So bear with me here. But I'm just gonna give you kind of a view so you can see a good portion of the native garden here in the side yard. And most of my garden looked just like this. And it was just, or excuse me, most of my yard looked just like this, and it was just lawn 2 years ago. And what I decided, I had always gardened. I've been gardening for about 7 years, gardening successfully, mostly fruits, vegetables, that sort of thing, the type of stuff that you pick up from your local nursery. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to create something that was a little more serving to the environment, looked a little more aesthetically pleasing, something I didn't have to mow, that attracted pollinators and also produced fruit. And like I said, just looked good, produced or attracted birds and that sort of thing. So that's exactly what I did. So you can see here, I first ordered something called a chip drop, and what they do, and if you have followed me for a while, you'll see what it looked like in my driveway. But a tree company will come, if you kind of raise your hand in the chip drop app, a tree company will come, pay them $5. It usually makes the process go faster, and they will drop a whole bunch of mulch from a tree that they just cut down in the area, shred it up. They'll drop it in your driveway, right? So it's great for you because you get mulch on the cheap. I think I paid $5 for, gosh, I think it was a pile that was 7 to 10 feet tall, to where you don't have to go to the nursery or the hardware store and buy mulch for whatever, $5 a bag. So I did that, and I started, you can see back here, I started by putting plastic garbage bags all down over the yard. So I kind of cut the garbage bags, they're like contractor bags, and I just laid them all over the yard in the portion that you can see that's no longer a lawn. And then I kept that for maybe 2 months, right? Tried to kill all the grass, put some rocks on top of it so the bags wouldn't blow away in the wind. And after that had happened for about 2 months, I put the mulch all over top of the dead grass. So it was very thick. I had too much mulch, and so even to this day, and I'll show you guys here in a bit, but even to this day, there's probably too much mulch. But the mulch that you get from these chip drops, they actually break down pretty fast. So the year 2, which is this year for me, year 3, year 4, it's only going to get better. It's a back to Eden gardening method, which basically means that any place that you garden, you cover with mulch fully, and does a couple things. Number one, it helps with moisture retention, right? So you don't have to water and water and water. That mulch really retains the moisture inside of the soil. Number 2, that mulch actually provides nutrients to the soil. So to where if you had bare soil, there's not much of an ecosystem. There is a little bit, but there's not much of an ecosystem that's happening. When you put mulch down, it actually puts nutrients in the soil when it rains as that thing is composting down. And if I were to dig around that mulch, and I'll try to put some B-roll here over so you guys can see, but if I were to dig around that mulch a little bit, you guys would notice it is full of life. So there's worms, there's bugs, there's roly-polies, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's just constantly breaking that down and producing nutrients for my garden. So it's the only way that I garden now. This garden bed right here, I actually started off not doing that. and I realized this is not gonna work for me. I have to water too much, the soil's too compact. So I actually put grass clippings, you can see there, over top of that garden bed, and that's what I use to kind of do the same thing that the mulch is doing in the main garden area. So that was my journey. I went to the nursery and I got a whole bunch of native plants. So we'll take a tour here in a second. I'll flip my camera around so you can see as I'm walking around. But I bought probably 10, 15, 20 different native plants there, and I planted them. And it looked really sparse the first year, but as things grew and as I'm going into my second year, you can really see that the things have blossomed and look really good, and I'm really happy with kind of what it turned out to be. So, you know, I was just really motivated to do something, like I said, that was good for the environment. I love working with my hands, and so that's what I did. I would highly encourage you all, if you have a lawn, you're in the suburbs, you're in an urban core, shoot, if you're in the country, this back to Eden garden method, killing your lawn, putting mulch down and planting native species, and I have some that are non-native too, I'll show you here in a second, but planting some native species, it's been great. My kids come out here and they look at the wildlife and they look at the plants. My wife loves looking at the birds, so we put a couple bird feeders in. I'll show you that here in a second too. But it's just been really, really great. And to me, it looks a whole lot cooler, a whole lot better than just kind of your regular old lawn. So I'm gonna flip my camera around and we're gonna kind of take a tour, and I'll walk as you guys watch. All right, so kind of starting from the other side of the garden where we began, these trellises I built from T-posts. You can see those there. Here, we'll walk up and take a look. But I built from T-posts. I drove those into the ground, and I put this fencing, or this wire mesh, I guess you could call it. And I had seen a lot of videos about building trellises from cattle panels, and so that's what I thought I was doing. But I soon realized that that wire mesh was not cattle panel. It's not as rigid. And so what I had to do is kind of use some baling wire. See if you can see. I had to use a little bit of wire around these T-posts here. And then I got these, you can see there, I got these wires, or this kind of metal framing in the fencing section at a hardware store, and I just did the best I could. So these did not exist, like I said, last year. And I wasn't sure exactly how they were going to hold up, but I tell you, I'm incredibly pleased with how these things have held up. As you can see, this grapevine here, I got from a local nursery last year. It was a somewhat mature plant, but I did get it from a local nursery, and you can see it is long, it's grown, and it's producing tons and tons of fruit. This is probably my favorite thing that I grow, and the favorite feature of the garden are these grapes. So yeah, these things have produced and are producing amazingly. They look really, really cool. I always had a dream to have kind of hanging grapes on a trellis like this. And this has been really cool. So I'm actually gonna be purchasing some organza bags, which are little pouches essentially that go around the fruit there, because I can already see the birds are getting to them, and I want as many grapes for myself as possible. So you can see I have 2 trellises there right along this pathway. We're gonna walk through and I'll show you what's on the other trellis. But these hydrangeas, they're looking a little sad because it's hot out today. But these hydrangeas were here when we purchased the house a couple years ago. I fertilize these things with a special fertilizer for hydrangeas that I believe acidifies the soil. And so there's been a couple years where they didn't produce super well. Here, we'll zoom in. There's been a couple years where they didn't produce super well, but they're producing really well this year. My wife's picked a couple of the flowers for the house, and they're really cool. So this section of the garden just really has a really cool vibe because it's so green and lush as you walk through the trellises. Okay, so this trellis, I built the same way that I did the one I just showed you, but this one I wanted to be more of a flowering trellis. I didn't want to necessarily have fruit or grapes on it. So what I did is I bought this plant that, I can't remember the name, but it produces these yellow flute flowers. And it is native to the Midwest, which is great. That's what I was going for. And man, it grows. So again, this is the second year. When I planted it, it was probably 2 feet tall, maybe. but now it's giant, and I've trimmed it back a lot too because it would just take over the whole thing. It produces, I believe, late summer and early fall, so we'll see if we can get a decent shot of that. Those are all going to be little flute flowers. So you can see here there's some buds. But yeah, it's really cool. It's been really beautiful, and again, really gives that kind of walking through the arch vibe that I was looking for. I'll pan over a little bit here. So these peonies I planted from tubers, and this is the full second year of these as well. These already produce tons of flowers. You can see these seed pods are the remainders of those. But this was something that I just wanted as a filler. So this isn't necessarily native to my area, but I love how peonies look in the springtime and the early summer. And man, they smell great. We picked them and put them in the house too. My wife did. So that was a cool kind of filler. And this isn't the most sexy, we'll call it, part of my garden, but you can see that I have a bunch of peonies back that way too. Okay, so again, all of this was lawn as of 2 years ago. What I did is I tarped it like I mentioned, put the mulch over it, and then I put this little pathway because I thought it'd be cool to have a pathway through the garden. And put some pebbles, small rock down there. So it's hard to see the small rock just because mulch, you can kind of see it's not as nice and tidy as I wanted it to be, but it's cool. It gives a really cool look. In terms of the plants, I'm really gonna struggle with some of these names because I cannot remember from last year when I bought them from the nursery. But this is a native plant that just produces some purple flowers, really pretty. And this here is my milkweed. It's very hot. It probably needs some water, you can see, so it's looking a little droopy, but it is very much alive. And I forgot to mention, one thing I like to do is plant perennials. So I prefer to buy plants and then plant them one time and then just learn how to prune them and have them come back every year. So planted this, it got huge last year, and it came back this year from the root system, which is really cool. There's one of those bird feeders I put. We had a little bird bath up by our other side door, so I put it here in the native garden. And you can see as we walk the path, these are black-eyed Susans. They haven't really bloomed yet, but those are beautiful yellow, kind of mini sunflower looking deals. A couple plants, I wanted some ground cover here by the bird bath. So I'm attempting to have some moss, some other plants that'll maybe produce some ground cover. We shall see. These trees I planted actually before I killed my lawn, and these are pear trees. These are the first real thing I planted in this part of the yard here at the house. I believe this is their third year. They're doing okay. So if you've ever heard of cedar rust, I have a couple cedar trees. I shouldn't say but the neighbor has a cedar tree there. There's a type of cedar tree in my front yard. And essentially these things, when they're near each other, will produce something on your pear tree called cedar rust, which can really take your tree out. So it has some, actually I'll walk you over to this other tree so you can see it. You can see some of these orange spots on the leaves. Hopefully you can see that okay. That's no good for the tree. It's kind of a fungus, and it will, I don't know necessarily kill your tree, but certainly kill your fruit and kill your leaves. And so I've been fighting that with like a organic fungicide spray, and it's been better this year, but we've been fighting that a little bit. So suffice it to say, these pear trees in their third year are producing really well. So the first year I planted them, they actually produced some pears. They were awesome, they were delicious. The second year, which was last year, they produced nothing, and this year they are producing again. So I'm excited to be able to pick some pears. But you can see in the garden there, I have a pear tree at the edge and a pear tree here. One thing that I've really had to learn, having more perennials and more fruits, are how to prune. And so I've posted a couple videos about how to summer prune, how to winter prune, what you have to prune when. For instance, the grapes, and you can see I have another grapevine here. This one's more on a classic trellis that I put with T-posts and some wire. But with grapes, it's important to remember that last year's vine produces this year's fruit. So you have to make sure that you have growth from last year that will produce the fruit, and you have to prune accordingly. So I'm not gonna get too much into it now. I actually have a video on the channel if you guys wanna look at that, that shows what that method is, how I've done it. and it seems to be working really well. I had to do the same thing for this pear tree, or excuse me, this grapevine too. I'm kind of making our way, so I have some small flowers here in the garden. Some have produced flowers already, some are getting ready to. So again, just a really cool area, really peaceful area. A couple things that I planted this year. So usually, and I'll take you to my other side garden here, but I'm kind of sprinkling in peppers and tomatoes and just some, veggies and fruits inside of the native garden, because I want to have it where we spend the most time so we can pick them. This bed I built late last year. I planted garlic in it, which is almost ready to harvest. And I have a video about some things that I learned about garlic. You can see that I've picked it there, called garlic scapes, but they're delicious. They are actually the seed shoot that comes out, and if you pick it early enough, they're tender and they taste like garlic. They're spicy, a little peppery. So you can check out that video too on the channel. But this bed I just have as another area to plant some things, mostly fruits, vegetables that are seasonal, that are annuals, not perennials. You can see here I got my tomatoes, picked that up from the nursery. Got one of my hot peppers here. You can see the grass there, like I mentioned before. That is something that I'm using just as ground cover, right? It does the same thing as the mulch, okay, in essence, right? Ground cover, moisture retention, nutrients, creating that ecosystem inside of the soil. Also keeps the soil from becoming too compact, so it keeps the soil looser for the roots to take hold. And you don't have to weed as much, it suppresses weeds. So that's the method that I'm using. So as soon as I mow the yard, which I did today, I will bag some of the grass clippings and just throw them on top of my bed. So yeah, again, if you are into gardening, one thing that I always encourage folks is, I didn't come from a lineage. I didn't come from a lineage of gardeners. Really, I liked gardening. I like working with my hands. I like growing things, and I just learned. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I bought plants, killed some. Some did well. Figured out how to prune. You kind of ask the question, why isn't my pear tree producing the way I want it to? Okay, well, I got to figure out how to prune this thing, and I don't want it to be too big, so I need to see what techniques I can do to kind of keep it low and keep it small. But the first step is always just trying, all right? Just getting out there and going. And that's been really gratifying for me and my family. I have never grown grapes before until last year, and now look, I'm gonna have grapes. And I never had a native garden, but now look, I do. And it's not perfect. You can see I didn't spend a bunch of time. Here's some lavender that I planted 2 or 3 weeks ago. Hopefully that lavender gets nice and big, but you can see it's not perfect at all, but it's good enough for me. And each year I can just tell it's getting better and better because the perennials are becoming more established, things are becoming more green. So it's been really fun. So long story short, if you have a desire to grow things, just start growing. You can do it in pots if you don't have a yard. You can do it indoors if you don't have the outdoor space. If you have a suburban lot like me, you can do something like this, right? I never would have thought, but it's been a really cool thing for me. And it's also a really good conversation starter. So when you're talking to friends, or friends come over, or family comes over, you take them through the garden, and a lot of people have never seen grapes grow, or they've never walked through a trellis with plants growing over top, and here they get to, and I get to take them on a tour of what I'm passionate about. All right, so we are around the other side of the house, and this is my more just fruit vegetable garden. This thing has not been weeded, so I'm just showing y'all real raw. This is what the garden looks like on a normal day when I haven't weeded and it's been neglected just a little bit. But I'm going to take y'all through this too. So I use the same method out here, put the mulch down. This I actually planted the year that I moved in, which is about 6 years ago. So this soil is more well established. It's better soil. It grows, provides nutrients a little better to these plants. The garden that I just showed you here on the other side of my house a second ago, it'll get there, but it's going to take a couple years just for that ecosystem to kind of develop. I think I've actually done 2 layers of mulch over the past 6 years on this already. But we're going to take you through. So I'm going to flip the camera around again, and I'm going to give you on a tour here. All right, so this patch is probably, I don't know, 4 feet wide. You can see all the weeds. It's a little embarrassing, but we're just going to kind of roll through. So this year, Here's some more peppers that I planted, as well as a tomato. That's a weed. It's bigger than most of my other plants. And then there's another tomato in there. This is a species of oregano that I planted a couple years back. There's some mint that's also another variety of oregano, and the mint's back there. So, you know, I tried pulling the mint out a couple years ago. It grows underground. It's almost impossible to get out. But, you know, as I'm walking through, I'll pick some, and I'll use some of the herbs, the oregano, for seasoning when I'm cooking. But yeah, you can see here, not a bad little area. Next year, you can see as well. As a matter of fact, let me take you down here. So you can see this mulch isn't very thick, but, you know, I haven't watered this in ages, and it hasn't rained in several days. But I don't know if you can see some of the wildlife, but it just completely breaks down, and it's absolutely fantastic having the mulch there. Super easy. Let's take you around this way. So this is my strawberry patch. I've posted several videos about this strawberry patch. It is completely self-sustaining. So I planted this from about 4 or 5 strawberry plants 4 years ago, and it is completely spread out to all of this, and it spreads out more and more every year, which I'm totally fine with. I just posted a video, so check back a couple of videos before this posting, and you will see I picked 15 pounds of strawberries. They're in my freezer now. I'm going to use it to make jams later on when I get the time. But if you're looking for an easy fruit, that's a perennial. Not many people know these are perennials to plant. Can't recommend strawberry enough. Planted it right into the dirt. Have had to battle pests, which I'm using Sluggo now. I sprinkle around this strawberry patch, and it does wonders. But man, it just grows and grows and grows, and who the heck doesn't love strawberries? So my kids will come back here. My dog, I learned, likes strawberries because the dog was eating it. I love strawberries, and so, you know, maybe I'll do a little walk through on the way back out here after the tour, and we'll see if we can find a ripe one. It's a little past season, but there's probably some ripe ones in there that we can't see, and we'll try them together. But moving forward here, so these are blackberries. I planted these 3 years ago, knowing absolutely nothing about them. The thing with blackberries, you have to prune them. So these stalks, you can see, let's see if we can get close enough here. These stalks grow fresh every year, and it's the same with the grapes. So previous year's growth produces this year's fruit. So you can see there's some fruit here on some of this stuff that I actually need to net to prevent them from getting eaten, as well as just kind of get them up on the trellis because they're leaning over my walk path. But that was last year's growth, so it's producing this year's fruit. What I do after this year with the stuff that has fruit on it is I cut it away, right? And you just continue that. Last year's growth, this year's fruit. But I trim these from growing too high. If I didn't trim them, they would grow to be 8, 10, 12 feet tall. I have a little area of a trellis here, but I just kind of let these things grow. They come back. They're really resilient. You need space for them, but if you love blackberries like I do, they're really, really fun to have. These, along with the grapes and the blueberries, which I'm going to show you in a second, you have to net them or they will get eaten by birds and chipmunks and squirrels. Everybody loves blackberries, it seems like. So I'll be getting a net on that. I just ordered some. I'll be getting a net on that here in the next couple days. But let's go a little bit further here. And you can see my blueberries, and we're going to pick some blueberries together too because there's some that are ripe. But this blueberry I planted last year, so it's pretty fresh. I got it from the same nursery I got the grapes and everything from. I don't know if you can see way in there, but there are ripe blueberries that we are going to pick together. Love blueberries. Blueberries are another one of those things that you have to, there's a stalk of the blackberry coming up. They grow via, I think it's rhizome or mycelium or something like that. So like I planted my original blackberry here, and I have shoots coming up all over the garden now. Kind of cool, but you got to make sure you manage that. You can see some more ripe blueberries there. So I just put these nets over. I keep them on. I'm gonna have to increase the size of my netting as the years progress because these blueberries will come back every year and get bigger and bigger. I'm actually surprised it's still alive. So I planted this one and it got trampled. I think it was 2 years ago, but I got trampled by the dog. So it's a little bit behind this one. I think that one's a different variety than this one as well. But you can see we're getting close. to having some ripe blueberries in there too. So it's working. And again, I don't really do much. With blueberries, you just kind of let them grow. Each year you trim back some of the dead growth, right? So it's not so you kind of keep it clean. You don't want it to be too congested to get nice airflow. You don't want fungus or anything like that growing. But yeah, I just kind of let it grow. And that's really the theme here is I don't have a lot of annuals, right? My annuals are my peppers and my tomatoes, essentially. The rest are perennials. So you invest your time into growing them and planting them in the first year, and then every year after that you just prune them, which I love. And it's also more cost effective because you're gonna drop, you know, whatever, a couple $100 maybe going to the nursery, but you don't have to go back. You can continue just maintaining the plants that you have, and it works out great. All right, so I flipped y'all back around. We're gonna try to grow some, or excuse me, we're gonna try to pick some fruit together. So just bear with me here, trying to work my camera angle the best that I can. But the first thing I wanna do is see if we can find any strawberries. So let's see, I'm gonna kind of look in here. A lot of these are old. We might not get too lucky today. Oh, there looks like there's one left over. Let's see here. Yeah, all right. So look at this beautiful strawberry. I don't spray. Man, that is so sweet. This is a very ripe one. I don't spray with anything like pesticides, so I can just come out here and pick fruit, and it's awesome. Soon I'm going to be doing the very same thing with these blackberries. But let's pick a couple of these blueberries and let's try them together. All right, so this is a bit tedious because I have these bags over, but I'm going to just kind of reach underneath. I don't want to take the bags off, and we'll see what we can get. All right, so I changed my mind. I took the netting off of the blueberries. And if you can see, let's see if you can see any of that there. We're gonna pick some blueberries and try those here together. So this is the first year that I've really gotten ripe blueberries because I haven't done the necessary things to keep them from the chipmunks, which I have a ton of, and the squirrels. And this year I did the netting and it's working great. So, I mean, check this out. I don't know if you guys can see that. Hopefully you can see that okay. Man, these blueberries are just amazing. I love blueberries, so we're gonna try them. I'm telling you, there's nothing like picking fresh berries, warm from the sun, and just eating them. Wow, those are incredible. So that's my side garden, as you can see. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the tour. Hopefully you're inspired to grow your own garden wherever you are. And yeah, if you want to see some of the videos that kind of put these pieces together, check out some previous videos on the channel, especially about the strawberries, about my mulch, and those are some of the first videos I even posted on the channel. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you subscribed. And if you are a gardener and want to be a part of a community of people that love to garden, that are asking questions, where you can ask questions, where you can see what I'm doing more on a daily basis here, because it is a daily, weekly effort to maintain this. Visit or join, the Dixon Claim Garden Club, link in the description on Facebook to join that community. So thanks so much for coming on a tour with me, taking a look at the native garden, vegetable garden, fruit garden, whatever, and we'll talk to you very soon.